Hello, Foundation students. Back again. Um, I wanted to just say a few words about the readings for Unit 4. Um, this unit is a unit about teachers' knowledge and what does it mean to understand and know a subject matter from the point of view of being a teacher. In some ways, this seems like a pretty obvious question. Uh, of course, if you were to ask anybody, give me the qualities that are essential to being a good teacher, I'm sure that most of us would start out by saying, obviously, a teacher has to know the subject matter. There are other qualities important to being a teacher, matters of personality, matters of humanity. You read the article by Clark that talks about the moral dimension of being a teacher. But here we're focusing in this week on one of the essential aspects of education in any context, Jewish education or general education. What does it mean to know enough to be able to teach? Now, you're going to read and focus on, you have 3 readings for this unit. I would recommend that you begin with the reading by Professor Lee Shulman called Those Who Understand. Then there's a reading by me, and then there's a reading by Gail Dorf. I think you ought to read them in that order. Doesn't really matter, but that probably would be helpful to you. Lee Shulman, who is a person that, unrelated to this article, has a very nice connection to JTS. He's one of the senior figures in American education. He's an old Camp Ramah guy, and he often talks about his experiences at Ramah when he was a young man. He's now an emeritus professor at Stanford. And in many ways, I think you could argue that for the past 20 or so years, Shulman has been the single most influential figure in the area of teaching and learning, that is pedagogy, amongst all professors of education in the country. He has a number of very distinguished students that are in significant positions, including Stanford and other places that have quite an important influence on contemporary American education. If you happen to read the article in the New York Times Magazine from 2 weeks ago about Bill Gates and his interest in changing the way history is taught, toward the end of the article there is a kind of measured and perhaps even skeptical comment by Professor Sam Weinberg from Stanford. Just as an example, Weinberg was one of Shulman's most distinguished students and, in a certain sense, came to succeed him there. Of all of Shulman's articles, there is probably none that has had such an important impact as the article that you're reading for this unit called Those Who Understand. He's a very fine writer, but it's not an easy article. It's a challenging article not because his writing is difficult. He's very good at giving examples. He has a straight line of argument, but he throws in a lot of ideas. This article, which appeared now over 25 years ago, really is the culmination of a major research project that he ran. And it's very much related to a challenge, a question that Shulman was very interested in, and that is a very live question in American education in general today. Namely, what does it mean to have a profession which is called teaching? So if you believe that teaching is an art, or teaching is a matter of having a winning personality or a sense of humor, then it's very hard to professionalize that. To put it another way, we know a lot of things throughout human history. We don't know how to give somebody a sense of humor. And if that's important, and if that's crucial to being a teacher, then we are really at a loss because we can't train people to do that. Shulman was very interested in professionalizing teachers. By the way, the article by Clark that you read about the moral dimension of teaching, in a sense, is a response to the dominance of Shulman. Not that Shulman doesn't care about morality, but because Clark was concerned that in all the focus on knowledge that Shulman brings to the table, the moral dimension of being a teacher is sometimes lost. So Shulman is concerned with what does it mean to be a professional, and how can we evaluate professionals, and how can we improve professionals. And one of the key elements that you'll read about in this article is his concept of how having knowledge, but of a very special sort, a specific sort which he called pedagogical content knowledge, a term that has come into the field both in general education and in Jewish education, a very, very important term that he describes. Once we have an understanding of that, it may give us a key to knowing how to prepare teachers and how to evaluate teachers. Now, in the section on our site, on our Blackboard site, under the tab called Videos and Resources, I put out an outline that I did of the Shulman article. And I think you may find it helpful in reading the article because it'll keep you focused on the line of argument and why he's going from one thing to the next. So I invite you to look at that outline and follow it as you go along. Now, the other thing that's out in the videos and resources section is a PowerPoint presentation resource, a PowerPoint presentation that I did focused on the Shulman article, and that is directly related to the posting that I want you to do for this unit. So you need to look at that PowerPoint and take a look at the posting prompt that I put up because it relates to that. What about the other two articles? My article that is on for this unit is more of a theoretical kind of piece. It looks at Shulman and some of his students and brings it into some of the issues that we care about in Jewish education. And then the piece by Gail Dorf tries to take the Shulman approach and bring it directly into questions of what do teachers need to know in order to teach Tanakh. So if you look at the articles in that order, I think that'll be useful to you. One final thing, Shulman is very, very influenced by a brilliant, complex, highly important scholar of American education, who's no longer alive, named Joseph Schwab. Schwab had a huge influence on a number of scholars. And interestingly, although Schwab himself was not a terribly involved Jew, Schwab became involved for a variety of reasons with some of the work at JTS, and particularly with Camp Ramah. And Shulman refers to Schwab. Some of Schwab's concepts are difficult, the way Schwab describes them, but I think Shulman does a good job of making them more understandable, and I think my PowerPoint maybe even makes it a little more understandable. So I invite you to look at all of those resources, and I look forward to your reactions to the articles. You'll have a chance to write more about the Dorf article and my article in assignment number 2 coming down the pike. Shana Tova. I'll see you after the new year.